pause, everything happens suddenly. Overnight, they are calling me. I'm a boss, I'm in charge, so they follow me. They no fit tell you, say they don't know me. Cause when you join pause, you're on the winning team.
The way we dey take over, it's a coup d'etat. 406, not the code. If any crew me what we on the head. We dey occupy the cyberspace. Yellow dropped up, right into a finer place. We design our frames, I see you like my gaze. You want to chill with us, you look quite amazed. I'm feeling good, I'm feeling
everywhere
nice.
You go, MTN.
You're tuned in to the Front Page News on Classic FM 97.3.
Good morning to you. You're tuned in to Front Page News and Analysis on Classic FM 97.3. It's this is the 12th of January 2018. Remember, you can always send in your comments to 33973. Also text us, tweet at us at Classic FM 973 with the hashtag FPN. Post it on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Classic FM 973. My name is Bukola. Good morning, Jimmy.
Good morning, everybody.
Speak up.
That's what I said. Speak up.
Okay, let's start with the headlines from The Nation. Suleiman succeeds Adiola at Sterling Bank. Dangote retains Africa's richest with $12.2 billion. Nigerian equities hit 15.3 trillion record high. Joshua Parker will boil over, says him. And a day of anger, anguish, tearful farewell for 73 victims of herdsmen killings. Moving on to the Nigerian Tribune. Herdsmen killings, Benue gives 73 victims mass burial. And these are heartbreaking photographs. NLC protests sack of 36,000 Kaduna teachers workers. 4 Nigerians in critical conditions. Shops raised as South Africans launch another attack. Appeal court dismisses suit to stop Anambra's senatorial rerun. Libya, 3 traffickers arrested as federal government evacuates 972. Declare Mieti Allah terrorist group, and that is from the Vanguard. Make case for arrest, trial of herdsmen, say leaders. And also, Sterling Bank appoints Suleiman new CEO as Adiola retires. And we'll start with this in details. Benue killings, if federal government can't protect us, will raise an army, says Onongo. Many residents of Makurdi in mourning gathered on Thursday at the IBB Square as bodies of the victims of the Fulani herdsmen attacks on January 1 and 2, 2018 in parts of Benue State were giving a mass burial.
Right. I'll strongly advise that if you have a weak constitution, you try and avoid today's papers, because the photographs that are in all the front pages, no matter how hard your heart is, will melt it. You know, of the funeral of these the victims, a mass burial, long row of coffins. It's very sad. May their souls rest in peace. Nigeria is at a very, 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 very crucial stage, in our lives, and the situation has to be handled with a lot of maturity, a lot of tact. And if we need all the prayer warriors that we have, if we ever needed prayers in our lives, it will be now. The update that you have here doesn't look too good. Paul Onongo is an old-time politician, probably somewhere between his 70s and 80s. And he is saying, and he's from Plateau State, and he says that if the federal government cannot protect us, we will raise an army. I don't see that as a wild threat. I think it is, his statement is pregnant and needs to be thoroughly investigated. Now, wait a minute, I'm not saying about whether it should be prosecuted or not, no, but it needs to be looked into to find out whether it means that they will now raise an army or there is an army on standby. With the rate at which you have illegal weapons coming in through the ports and so on and so forth, I don't think it is a statement that should be, treated with some content. And this is, what it says. It says, a leader of the Team Nation and the chairman of the Northern Elders Forum, one Tarege Onongo, I'm sure it is still Paul Onongo, even though this is probably his... he said, if President Muhammadu Buhari failed in his responsibility of protecting lives and property of Benue citizens, the people would train their own army in the state to defend them. Onongo recalled that a large number of Benue sons and daughters were among the contingents that fought the Nigerian Civil War. I think I need to correct myself here. I don't think he's from Plateau. I think he's probably from Benue. Anyway, and he says that Benue people sacrifice blood for the unity of this country and will not allow a section of Fulani herdsmen to kill our people in Cold War. I am telling Nigerians that my people cannot continue to be cannon fodder for this country. If the government cannot protect us, we'll mobilize and train our people into an army to defend us. And it goes on and on. So that is where we were yesterday. Yesterday was the funeral of all the victims and so on and so forth. Another development here: Taraba anti-open grazing law starts January 24. Death toll hits 60. Another development here: Benue attack displaces 18,000 people in Nasarawa. And then another one: herdsmen attacks predates Buhari. The presidency says, I think the presidency should stop trying to justify what is not justifiable and making comparisons with what happened during Jonathan's time and well, just get the job done. I don't think anybody is too interested in what Jonathan did or what some other person did. The second story also has a development.
It's still about the Benue killing.
Yes. You can read it. Yeah.
I want autumn, says Plateau Governor. The Plateau State Governor, Simon Lalong, on Thursday said he warned his Benue State counterpart, Samuel Autumn, against implementing the state anti-grazing law recently passed into law. Yes.
This apparently must have been said sometime yesterday. And it says Lalong said this in an interview with State House correspondents shortly after meeting President Muhammadu Buhari at the Villa. And he said that his position was that it was wrong to start implementing the law without proper alternatives. And he says that, to be honest with you, I advised him. I told the governor of Benue State when he was initiating the law, I said, look, why don't you tread softly? Just be careful. Take other steps before you start implementation. You see, And he says, but you see, states are different. His own concepts are different. And for us, in Plateau, it is different. He says, I said I would not. He said do the law, but I think what it means by implement the law if he hasn't, provided an alternative for them and allow time, to let it foster. So anyway, that's where we are today. There's almost a development every day, and increasingly, that is the part that also bothers me. It is almost looking very, very close to crisis point. And I just hope we will not let that happen. I just hope we won't let that happen.
Sir Fashina says the federal government must take a decisive action against these incessant killings by herdsmen. Shea Williams, the disdain shown across borders reaching to the roof. People make unguarded statement and heat up the polity. We're all Nigerians first before we take it to our different ethnic groups. John Shiayo says, Uncle Jimmy Paul Unongo Waterenge is from Benue and not Plateau.
I already corrected myself. Okay.
Yes. Ojo Awugbenga, I really commend the resilience of Governor Autumn of Benue for standing up to defend his people against the killer herdsmen and the proposed cattle colonies. It's not until the governor speaks and acts like a motto packed out that he should be seen as defending his people. Abbas Oladepo, the government needs to quickly find solution to these killings. If the government labels Fulani herdsmen as terrorists, how do we treat the guys that just move their herds around unarmed? The government should be up and doing. We have a lot on our hands now. Very sad indeed to have started the year with such gruesome bloodletting. Security failure is one too many. Coming from Peter Okpatewa. And this is the Voxpop for the morning. Is it right for federal government to set up cattle colonies?
Yeah, this is the ever famous Punch Voxpop. And the question they're asking this time around is it right for the federal government to set up cattle colonies? And we have reactions from about 5 people here. I'll quickly run through them. The first one that interests me actually is Peter Esele, who is a former president, Trade Union Congress. And he says that it is not right to set up cattle colonies. All the lands are within the jurisdiction of the state. We run a federal government. So if the federal government wants to run a cattle colony, will federal government pay for the land? The cattle rearers we are talking about are businessmen, and they are making money. If they're making money, why can't they go to the bank, take loans like every other business person will do, and set themselves up? Yeah, okay. And Ibrahim Zango, who is a former National Publicity Secretary of Miyetti Cattle Breeders Association, says that on one hand, one can say it is a right step in the right direction. On the other hand, it is not a permanent solution to the problem. Let me ask this question. How many herders and how many cows can the government accommodate in the 6 colonies they are talking about? The truth of the matter is, there are now more cattle in southern Nigeria than you have in the north because of the deforestation and the disappearance of grazing reserves. You don't have the kind of herders-farmers clashes we have here in Nigeria in places like Republic of Cameroon, because the government under the late President Amadu Ahijo took proactive measures which his successor has sustained. He established grazing reserves and they are still functional. Nigeria did the same in the 1950s and 60s, and there was even a World Bank assisted program on livestock development. Professor Olufemi Onifade, who is a professor in the Department of Pasture and Range Management, Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, says that the federal government has not said how it will set up cattle colonies and the shape it will take. They have yet to provide the full details. However, the idea of cattle colonies is not new, because I believe some states in the north have already given land to the Federal Ministry of Agriculture for that purpose. He says he thinks about 10 states have given about 10,000 hectares each, if he is not mistaken. Okay. Salauddin Hashim, who is the Secretary National Peace and Security Forum, says, when killer herdsmen went on a killing spree in southern Kaduna, Benue, and Plateau states, just to mention a few, one of the narratives in defense of government's inaction was that these killers were unknown foreigners. In response to sustained killings in Benue and Adamawa states, President Muhammadu Buhari-led federal government is proposing cattle colonies. And he adds, some questions are we ceding part of our sovereignty to foreigners? Are we giving out land to unknown and identifiable people? Is the pacification of these killers the only option left to us as a nation? How do we justify government action against Boko Haram and the indigenous people of Biafra?
I think that I like that last contribution.
That what?
What he was talking about, that, initially when it all started, it was that they were foreigners, and
no, most of those cows are owned by Nigerians, and they are the ones. If you had colonies, which of course if you had land in these colonies, which of course I think they would pay for, it would belong to them. Once you can pay for it, it belongs to you. I don't see what the problem is. But then again, the problem with things like this is all kinds of politics now comes into play. Past prejudices, past
ranching,
whatever.
Why don't people want to? Why is ranching some sort of issue?
I honestly, to me, it sounds common sense. It sounds like the right thing to do. Have ranches, but I don't know. There's a lot of politics, traditional thinking. There's more to this than meets the eye.
Back in the day, it was easy to graze. But now population explosion is happening. People are occupying lands. They're trying to farm and feed themselves. So you can't have that expanse of land that was free and nobody ever came to disturb you. You can't have that. We can't have access to such anymore. With
these clashes, Buki, just like you said, with these clashes, there is no doubt in my mind that you cannot continue to have grazing. It just can't continue along that path. But like I said, there are more political undertones to these things. Heaven help us.
All right, we'll take a break on Front Page News and Analysis. We'll be right back.
It's the season of sharing, isn't it? So share the latest gists, memorable moments, the best deals of the season, and more. With MTN Goodie Bag Social, you can enjoy non-stop sharing on any of your favorite platforms like Facebook, WhatsApp, Twitter, To Go, and so much more for only 60 Naira monthly. Yes, you heard that right. Chatting, tweeting, and posting non-stop for only 60 Naira monthly on MTN Goodie Bag Social plans. To jump on this incredible offer, simply dial *662# and select your preferred bundle. Terms and conditions apply.
You're tuned in to the Front Page News on Classic FM 97.3.
So front page news and analysis on Classic FM 97.3. And let's take more of your comments. Olaraju says, our political class and elites are the problems of this country. So Plateau State Governor advises Benue State counterpart. Ordained by Christ says, I disagree with the Plateau State Governor because that would have happened. Nevertheless, killing is evil, period. And Odedeyi Sunday says, the Governor of Plateau is speaking from a point of weakness and not advice. Cattle colonies, Bolinka says, it's obvious that federal government don't think you set up such colonies today and you create a future problem. Come say 20 years ago when you're long out of power, land ownership becomes a problem, especially in an ethnically biased country like Nigeria. And Odedeyi Sunday goes on to say the establishment of cattle colonies is synonymous to grabbing land from indigenes. Yes,
I don't think. Let's get petty on some of these things. I don't see anything wrong in creating colonies. I think the word colonies is what is confusing everybody. You know, I think it's what's look. The truth is, you must have cattle. You must have these cattle, and they should be domiciled somewhere rather than have them move around. Now, whether you call them colonies or settlements or whatever it is, the owners of these cows, they are the ones who should pay. They should pay for whatever land is given to them. I mean, I think what colonies means is that you shouldn't bring your cattle beyond a particular area. That's what it means. So let's start splitting hairs on whether people think it's the same old good old British colony or whatever it is. No.
Okay, Metro News.
Yeah, I have Metro News here, and okay, we had this story before Metro News. Let me take it. Look, I'll take it as the first Metro News. The story here is that Governor Ambode yesterday has dropped 3 commissioners from his cabinet and has done some kind of turnaround within the cabinet. Ironically, the 2 that interest me are the two new appointees are people that I've known for quite very, very long time in my life, and the 2 that interest me are the environment. Because I believe that the previous commissioner was not up and doing with the environment. Adejare, it didn't seem to have a grasp of what it was. Now the new commissioner for environment is Babatunde Drosimieti, who I hope would have a better perspective about what the whole job entails. Adejare himself has been moved to some water resources position. And so I wish Babatunde I wish him a lot of luck. It's going to be a very tough job, but he has to be on top of that job. The environment is one of the things that will determine the re-election of Governor Akinwumi Ambode for a second term. It's one of what will determine that, and I think he probably had that in mind when he did that, when he appointed Eti here. So. The other interesting one is Kehinde Bangweton, who everybody knows that I know very well. And he's been moved to information, while Stephen Yoride has been moved to tourism, arts and culture. Again, Kehinde is somebody who I know knows his onions on this job. He was, for 2 terms of Tinubu's government, he was a special advisor to him on information, and he knows the job through and through. Stephen Yoride didn't seem to have a hang of that job. People would not believe that I met him only once, and on that occasion, when he came to this very studio, he didn't even pay any compliments to me. He came with Governor Ambode. So that shows you, and I never had any interaction with him. And that's why it always looked as if Governor Ambode had a bad press. For some funny reason, he wasn't an outward person. I think he's a withdrawn person. People perceive that to be arrogance, and therefore he couldn't get the job done properly. So I'm hoping that with Kehinde Bangweton there now, Governor Ambode might get, better media exposure and measured exposure too, because I think that Bangweton understands the name of the game. It's not, publicity is not about noise. It's about well-prepared exposure, well-managed exposure. So in those 2 areas, that would happen. The part, again, the one that also surprises me is moving to Deji Tinubu, who again we know, he used to do some programs here, from the sports ministry to commerce and industry. And Deji is a sportsman through and through. If there's any, if you wake Deji up, I believe, wake him up right in the middle of the night and ask him anything on sports.
Spitting off food.
I think I wish that Governor Bode would do a rethink, because this man is a sports person. But he's been moved to
commerce and industry.
Commerce and industry, whatever that means. Remember that DG was removed unceremoniously some time ago, and then I think there were a bit of moves here and there, and was said, okay, he's still in the cabinet, and so on and so forth. I hope it's not something personal between the two of them, because if I had a Deji Tinubu, I'd keep him in sports. But the governor has a right to his cabinet, and that's what he has decided to do. So in all, we are going to have a new set of commissioners. This is a crucial year for the governor. Re-election is there. Now that he's probably settled this part of it, he now needs to tidy up the political end, because the word going around is that the members of his party are not too happy with him, but that is a usual thing. Of course, politicians like to be carried along fully, and this gentleman is anything but a politician. I mean, the man was an accountant, I think accountant general before he became the governor of Lagos. So maybe he doesn't know how to move well within the political circles. But generally, they'll find a way around it. Everything looks, so far as we speak today, like the gentleman could be on standby for a second term. But 24 hours is a long time in politics, and
when you talk about that, when you look around, when you look at the political terrain, 2019 is how many years away? You see that there isn't any opposition.
That's what I'm saying.
There's a lackluster
PDP has gone
campaign.
to bed in Lagos. There's, in fact, virtually as if there's no party. Probably why Obani Koro quickly jumped from PDP and went to APC. The PDP is in a complete mess. And after that, who else? Nobody. Maybe I should run. I keep saying this thing, but it doesn't ever happen.
No, right, we don't want the Agbas. You guys should go take a back seat.
The man, the youth leader in PDP recently, was a 62-year man. I'm a youth. I'll take my photograph and put it on Facebook. Look at me today.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, are you a youth?
Yes, I'm a youth.
Look at. Right, let's go to other news. I'm a youth. There's ages in the mind. Fuel marketer buys 496,000 naira goods with dot check. Father of two defiles 10-year-old autistic patient. This is terrible. Police arraign the wife and his brother. Wow. Police inspector's head found in Cross River Shrine. Military arrests militant for killing 5 operatives. Kogi used beat soldier for wooing married woman. Really? Angry youths in Gadumo community, Lokoja, have attacked a yet-to-be-identified soldier for allegedly making overtures to a married woman in the community. Maybe he didn't know she was married. Is that an excuse?
Well, was she wearing her wedding band?
I don't know. I wasn't there. Okay. Governor Akinwumi Ambode yesterday said that the state generated a total of 503 billion in 2017. 503 billion. And so let's go to the Vanguard and see what we have here. Okay, you still have the Ambode story. He grew IGR to 503 billion. Falana wants DSS probed over alleged abduction of 10 Cameroonian leaders. That's a security issue. We need to be careful there. And it involves other nationals, so we need to be very, very careful. I'd rather Falana stay off the media on things like this, at least for now. Disregard training contracts extension, NAIG tells members in Chevron. Warn your children against cultism, Lagos CP tells parents. And the Naira has appreciated to 360 Naira to the dollar. NAPTIP arrests 2 traffickers amongst the Libya returnees. 2 traffickers amongst the Libyan returnees. And it says here, Red Squad carried out Omoko massacre over arrest on Don Wani's mother. Let me read that again. Red Squad carried out Omoko massacre over arrest of Don Wani's mother. Let me quickly read. One of the suspects in the New Year killing of worshippers at Omoko disclosed yesterday that they carried out the killings to avenge the arrest and humiliation of the mother of their leader, Don Wani, coupled with the destruction of Wani's mansion. I think this is a recent one. Caraway Bayelsa criminal who beheaded DSS operative, nabbed. He beheaded him. How onlookers took pictures as family of 7 battled for life in autocrat. Buki, we spoke about this. I think you and I spoke about this about 2-3 days ago, that if there's something going on, there's an emergency, and rather than people try to help, let's say there's an accident or something, which is what is happening, what happened here, and onlookers took pictures as a family of 7 battled for life in an auto crash. I don't know. This is another one here. Good Samaritan foils kidnapped attempt by ramming into suspect's car. Really? Attempt by a 3-man kidnap gang to abduct a school proprietress in Abijo, Ibejuleki area of Lagos was Wednesday night, but with 2 suspects arrested. Meanwhile, their target, Mrs. Mildred Mbadiogu, the proprietress of a nursery school in the area, was at press time still being treated at an undisclosed private hospital owing to the injury she sustained at the incident. And there's this same story about Fireshare, calling on the hunters not to allow the husband kill our people. Okay. Right, so that's where we are.
John Mack says more than 100 people killed in the first week of the year, and Jimmy will never blame Buhari but keeps blaming an uncoordinated government. Who heads the uncoordinated government?
If you have your beef with Buhari, go and settle it. We can't do more than what we are doing here. And you don't expect us as responsible people to throw petrol in a burning fire. A newspaper, a radio station is not a place for people to come and vent their anger. It's to provide things in a balance. And so we all know what is happening. We know the things that we can say privately. But when you put on a microphone and you're talking to thousands of people, your comments have to be measured. I've heard criticisms like this, and I keep telling people, if this country comes into complete chaos, not 3-4 months after, you'll even forget what started it all. Everybody will be running helter-skelter. The whole place will be destroyed. There's nothing to be gained.
Uncle Jimmy, Mr. Kende Gbamigbeton was Tinubu's chief press secretary and not special advice.
Yes, but chief press secretary is also a special advisor, but that doesn't matter.
Okay, let's take a look at this. This one is coming in from our Facebook page, and he says here, Lalong is very wrong. The Benue killings did not result from the anti-open grazing law. The killings have been going on for long. Before the law was enacted, the law was meant to address the wanton killings. I think that's an editorial.
But we don't have. We have just a minute. I can't.
Just
mention it. Okay. You probably want to read the editorial on Punch editorial as usual. Nice Punch editorial on compulsory treatment of gunshot victims. Let me read the first paragraph, which is all I can do. It is now an offense for hospitals to deny gunshot victims treatment in the country, with President Muhammadu Buhari's assent to a bill earlier passed as the National Assembly to this effect. The Compulsory Treatment and Care for Victims of Gunshots Act 2017, which came into effect on the eve of 2018, ensures that no police report is needed by any medical facility to admit a victim. The law is a welcome development and underscores the sanctity of life. In the past, if you had a gunshot victim, the hospital will tell you to go and get a man has been shot, he's bleeding. They tell you to go and get a police report. But now, common sense has... in fact, it's now an offense. Treat first. Why is it treating him? You tell him you can't take this guy home until we get a police report to release him, if you really must do that. So it is now an offense for doctors. You better listen now, doctors, all hospital owners. It's now an offense for you to reject a gunshot victim. But
as we said now, they should circulate it. The Nigerian Medical Association actually should educate
but as a responsible citizen, you must
and this should be enforced and circulated before there's some excuse.
That's why we are doing this now. It is not only can you not reject, it is an offense to reject. So if anybody comes to the hospital, you need to apply first aid treatment, and then you can go talking about police report and so on and so forth.
All right, have a lovely weekend, Jimmy. Thanks for coming.
I can't wait.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Number one,
06
I'm feeling good, I'm feeling nice, yeah. Come celebrate. Now we be the boss with them the final. Better play. Cause anything we do, they want to do. Anywhere we go, they won't follow. We be the number one for this game now. Number one. Right now I'm on the pausing P. I'm too big, too much, they are watching me. All the fine girls steady cuffing me. As I pause, everything happens suddenly. Overnight they are calling me. I'm a boss, I'm in charge, then they follow me. They no fit tell you, say they don't know me. Cause when you join pause, you're on the winning team.
The way we dey take over, it's a coup d'etat. 406, not the code. Benue we on the head. We dey occupy the cyberspace. Yellow dropped up, right into a finer place. We design our frames. I see you like my gaze. You want to chill with us? You look quite amazed. I'm feeling good, I'm feeling
Everywhere
nice.
you go, MTN.
And that's it on the front page news on Classic FM 97.3. Stay tuned.
I couldn't help myself.